Before you answer this, think carefully. One honest response could completely change the way you see yourself. Do you truly believe you're more intelligent than your parents? Most people answer too quickly. Now take it one step further. What about your grandparents? Would your answer stay the same? For nearly half a century, scientists noticed something remarkable. Every new generation consistently outperformed the one before it on intelligence tests. This wasn't a tiny improvement or random chance. The increase appeared again and again, backed by years of data. The same pattern showed up across country after country, from the 1930s all the way into the 1990s. On paper, someone born around 1980 would typically achieve higher cognitive test scores than their own parents. Researchers eventually gave this phenomenon a name, the Flynn Effect. For decades, it stood as one of the strongest and most trusted discoveries in cognitive science. Then something happened that almost nobody expected. Around the mid-1990s, that steady climb suddenly came to an end. But the story didn't end there. Something even more shocking happened. The trend completely reversed. When researchers analyzed data from over 1 million people across 8 different countries, they uncovered something nobody expected to find. Instead of climbing higher, intelligence test scores had started falling. And we're not talking about a tiny change. The decline was large enough to make scientists genuinely concerned. But here's the part almost everyone misses. While one line was quietly going down, another was rising at the exact same time. Then, in 2018, a major study from Norway confirmed what many researchers feared. The decline wasn't an illusion, it was real, and it was accelerating. The study followed the records of more than 700,000 men over a period of 3 decades, making it one of the largest studies of its kind. Around the same time, researchers in the United States examined nearly 400,000 people, testing several different areas of human thinking. The results pointed in the same direction. Out of 4 major cognitive abilities, 3 were already showing a clear decline. And this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. By the time this video ends, you'll understand what's really driving these falling scores. There are 3 major reasons behind it. And trust me, the third one changes everything you think you know. In fact, there's something I quietly introduced at the very beginning of this video. Right now it probably seems unimportant, but by the end you'll see it in a completely different way. When scientists first confirmed this decline, people rushed to find an explanation. And naturally, the most popular answer was also the easiest one to believe. The argument sounded simple. Highly educated people tend to have fewer children, while less educated groups often have larger families. Over time, many believed this alone could lower average intelligence. The idea even had an official name, the dysgenics hypothesis. It sounded logical, mathematical, and scientific. Articles repeated it, social media spread it, and millions of people accepted it without asking one important question. Was it actually true? Then everything changed. In 2018, a team of Norwegian researchers published findings that challenged this theory in a way almost nobody expected. Instead of comparing different families, they compared brothers. Same parents, same home, same DNA, same neighborhood, the same childhood environment. Only one thing was different: the time they grew up. And surprisingly, the younger brother consistently scored lower than the older one. Think about what that really means. If 2 brothers share the same genes, then DNA cannot be the main reason for the decline. Something else had changed. The only remaining explanation was the world around them. Somewhere between one brother's childhood and the other's, the environment itself had shifted. And the most surprising part, the exact same pattern appeared across multiple countries around the world. And it wasn't just Norway. The very same pattern began appearing in Denmark, Finland, France, the Netherlands, Estonia, and multiple studies across the United States. Different countries, different cultures, the same disturbing result. Imagine planting 2 identical seeds in the same pot. One grows strong under clear sunlight. The other grows later, with less light, and never reaches the same height. The seed didn't change. The environment did. That's why this story isn't really about genetics anymore. It's about what quietly changed in the world after the mid-1970s, and how that change affected almost everyone. The decline isn't happening across every mental ability equally. It's targeting very specific skills: abstract reasoning, working memory, processing speed, and the ability to juggle multiple ideas at once. So what could be causing this? Researchers have identified several possible suspects, and chances are you interact with at least 2 of them every single day. But the first one probably isn't what you're expecting. Here's what makes this even more interesting. Those declining abilities all belong to one powerful system inside the brain. Scientists call it executive function. Executive function controls some of your most important mental abilities: staying focused, remembering information while solving problems, resisting distractions, making smart decisions, and thinking clearly under pressure. So here's the real question. If these abilities became stronger during the Flynn effect, what changed that caused them to start getting weaker? The answer begins with one important fact. Executive function isn't something you're simply born with. Like a muscle, it grows stronger the more you challenge and use it. And today, the very activity that strengthens that mental muscle has quietly disappeared from everyday life. It isn't a new technology or a hidden chemical. It's something far simpler, something most people try to avoid at all costs: boredom. And once you understand why boredom matters, the next piece of this puzzle starts to make perfect sense. Real focus isn't about working harder. It's about staying with a difficult thought, even when your brain is begging for an easier escape. Finishing the chapter, solving the problem, following one idea all the way to the end instead of abandoning it halfway. Then, in 2023, researchers studied the behavior of more than 80,000 people. What they discovered was almost unbelievable. Back in 2004, the average person could stay focused on a single screen for around 2.5 minutes. Today, that number has dropped to less than a minute. That doesn't necessarily mean people suddenly became less intelligent. It means the world around us no longer rewards deep focus. It rewards constant switching. Think about it. Every notification, every endless feed, every recommended video is competing for one thing: your attention. The longer you keep scrolling, the more profitable you become. Your distraction is part of the business model. Now go back to those Norwegian brothers. Same parents, same home, same DNA. But the younger brother grew up in a world filled with more notifications, more interruptions, and far fewer moments of uninterrupted thinking. The seed never changed. The sunlight did. And sometimes, that's all it takes to produce a completely different result. But attention isn't the entire story. Researchers believe there are other factors involved. And the second one is something millions of people consume every single day, without ever realizing it changed. What's surprising is that this wasn't simply the result of modern life. It began with a quiet decision, one that most people never heard about, and almost nobody questioned. For many years, commercially produced bread in parts of the United States and Europe contained iodized dough conditioners. Iodine plays a critical role in healthy thyroid function, and thyroid health is closely connected to brain development, especially during pregnancy and early childhood. Interestingly, the rise of the Flynn effect closely matched major improvements in nutrition, including better access to iodine. But then, something changed, and almost nobody noticed it happening. During the 1970s and 1980s, many food manufacturers quietly changed the way commercial bread was made. Iodized dough conditioners were gradually replaced with bromine-based alternatives. To most people, it seemed like a minor industrial change, but its long-term effects may have been far more significant than anyone realized. Research has shown that severe iodine deficiency can reduce IQ by 10 to 15 points in populations where the deficiency is common. In developed countries, the impact is usually much smaller, but it's still measurable. And the most surprising part? Almost nobody even knew the change had happened. That means your generation may have grown up with lower iodine exposure than your parents did. At the same time, another hidden factor was affecting millions of people. Lead remained in aviation fuel for decades, and researchers believe children living near small airports experienced measurable cognitive effects because of it. Now step back and look at the bigger picture: a changing attention environment, nutritional shifts, and long-term chemical exposure. 3 separate forces, all moving in the same direction for decades. But even together, they still don't explain the most surprising trend of all. Because there's another graph rising quietly in the background. And once you compare it with the decline in human cognitive scores, the entire story begins to look very different. Let's return to where this journey began. For nearly 50 years, every generation appeared to become smarter than the one before. Then, almost without warning, that pattern reversed. When scientists looked more closely, they noticed something important. Not every mental ability was declining equally. A very specific group of cognitive skills was dropping faster than the rest, and that couldn't be a coincidence. When scientists looked more closely, they noticed something important. Not every mental ability was declining equally. A very specific group of cognitive skills was dropping faster than the rest, and that couldn't be a coincidence. It almost looks as if multiple changes in our modern world are all targeting the same mental abilities at the same time. And strangely enough, those are the exact abilities another form of intelligence has been improving faster than ever before. Reasoning through difficult problems, holding multiple ideas in your mind, maintaining deep focus, making decisions under pressure. These aren't ordinary skills. They're the very abilities that allowed humanity to build civilizations, discover science, and create modern technology. For years, we believed every new generation was becoming smarter. Then the data revealed something no one expected. The decline wasn't written into our DNA. It was written into the world around us. And that changes everything, because if our environment can shape the way we think, it can also help us think better again. Today, we stand between two paths. One follows the trend, the other creates change.